Hello everybody, I'm Dan Murrell, and this is my review for Sinners, which hits theaters this weekend, and I'm super excited to tell you about this one. It's the latest from writer-director Ryan Coogler, his fifth film, and his first since 2022's Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And when we talk about consistency as a filmmaker, then I think that Ryan Coogler has to be pretty high up on the list because he's made 5 feature films so far, and I can say comfortably that I have enjoyed all 5 of them to some degree or another, which is pretty impressive for any director, regardless of era or filmography or type of movie. And this is the first movie that Ryan Coogler's made that's not based on a true story or on pre-existing characters. Michael B. Jordan plays dual roles as twin brothers Smoke and Stack, who returned to rural Mississippi in the 1930s after a stint doing no good up in Chicago to open up a juke joint. Headlining their opening night is their cousin Sammy, played in an impressive debut performance by singer Miles Caton, who's not just a talented blues singer, he's so good that his music can pierce the veil of the supernatural, connecting him to his ancestors, but also to a world of evil, personified by Jack O'Connell, who shows up to start some trouble. Now, if you haven't seen the second trailer for Sinners, my advice would be don't do that. I think it gives away way too much about the movie. And there have been lots of articles and reviews that I've seen and read that have no problem giving away what the central premise of the movie is. But I think it's actually a better movie if you don't know about that stuff going in. However, that particular thing is also key to a lot of my thoughts about the movie. So instead of talking around it, I've decided to use a different word in place of the word that would be a spoiler. And for the purposes of this review, that word is marshmallows. Sinners begins as a stylized portrait of the Jim Crow South as these two brothers return home after realizing, as they say, that Chicago is really just Mississippi with buildings instead of plantations. They're still looking to strike out on their own to make their own fortune. And what Coogler does smartly is he spends a good chunk of the first part of the movie building out the relationships of the two brothers with the different characters in the movie and different people around town. This is all framed against a backdrop of evil and sin and how they can cross over from the spirit world into the earthly realms. All of these characters converge at the juke joint for what is supposed to be a night of new beginnings. And then we realize that this is a movie about marshmallows. And not just a movie about marshmallows in a subtle way, but a movie that embraces everything about marshmallows gleefully. Sinners isn't just a drama, it is one of the most elevated genre movies that I've seen in a really, really long time. And I think it's also going to be a crowd pleaser. I saw the movie in an audience that was about a 50% mix of critics and people that had sneak preview tickets to see the film. And this audience was into it. And I think it's not just because it's a good movie, but because it's a good mix of different things. It's a good drama, and it also has a lot of good comedic beats. There are a lot of laughs in Sinners. Now, I get the dilemma when it comes to marketing, because while it is best to discover the marshmallows in the movie naturally, at the same time, it is a very appealing hook if you want to get people into the theater. But I don't agree with the choice to put it so front and center, especially in that second trailer, because that act of discovery, if I could mind wipe myself and not know, or at least think that I know what the movie was about going in, I think that that would have just been a mind-blowing reveal for me. I love a director who's not afraid to treat genre seriously, and Ryan Coogler approaches this movie with an eye toward, yes, telling a very dramatic and resonant story, but also with a genuine love for marshmallows. This is one of the best marshmallow movies of the modern era, and Ryan Coogler gives it such a unique spin. There are things that we've seen before that he does so well, and it's often terrifying in its simplicity. Coogler has said that this movie is the one that is the most personal for him. He put more of himself on the screen than he has in any other movie before, and if these are the results that we get from that, then I hope that he does it more often. Michael B. Jordan is the second actor in a 2025 Warner Brothers film to play dual lead roles after Robert De Niro in The Alto Knights, which is kind of weird. He's a fantastic actor, and the highest compliment that I can pay his performance is that I immediately bought that he was playing two different people. Smoke and Stack may be twin brothers, but they're two distinct characters. One is more reserved and focused, the other more reckless and unreliable, and the movie does a good job of giving us the background on why. Miles Caton puts in a great debut performance as Sammy, also known as Preacher Boy, who's torn between his love and talent for music and his religious father's warnings that no good can come of it. The whole time I was watching the movie, I was racking my brain thinking, where have I seen him before? Because he must have been in something else, and I was shocked at the end to see that this was his film introduction. The rest of the cast is also strong, from Delroy Lindo's often comedic turn as the no-nonsense musician Delta Slim to Jack O'Connell's deliciously evil villain role. O'Connell obviously relishes the chance he gets here, and he doesn't disappoint. Cinematographer Autumn Durald Arkapaw, who did standout work on 16mm in last year's The Last Showgirl, does outstanding work here on a much larger film format. While she's done several major projects already, including Coogler's Wakanda Forever, this could be her star-making turn as a director of photography. Ludwig Göransson also reteams with Coogler to write the music of the film, adding to his genre of, is there anything that this guy can't write? Seriously, he is one of the most talented film composers working today. He does not seem to be intimidated by any genre or any type of music, and as probably isn't very surprising, his work in the movie is superb. Now, Sinners is a very, very good movie, but it's not a perfect one. I think that Coogler struggles a little bit with landing the ending of the film. There's one particular portion of it that feels a bit tacked on. It's emotionally satisfying for the characters, but I think that it could have been integrated better into the whole of the film. Now, when I talk about the portion of the ending that seemed a little tacked on, I'm not talking about the movie's epilogue, and this is an important note. When the credits start rolling, do not get up and leave the theater, because there is a postscript to the film, not just one scene, but about a 3 to 5 minute sequence that really kind of ties the story together. And if you're trying to get to the parking lot quick, or you got to go to the bathroom, hold it just a few more minutes, because I do think that it is essential to the impact of the movie. I also don't necessarily think that the movie's use of IMAX was that spectacularly realized. For a large portion of the film, it's presented in the 2:76:1 aspect ratio, which is very, very wide screen. So you get an impressively wide picture, and it looks beautiful, but there are some fairly substantial black bars at the top and the bottom. And then for select scenes and sequences, the aspect ratio expands to take up the full IMAX screen. And I think that Coogler struggles with something that many other directors have struggled with as well, which is that when you're shooting for IMAX, to have a movie shown on an IMAX screen, at the top and the bottom of the frame, you have to frame it so that when it's cut off for non-IMAX showings, that you're not missing part of the picture. And I felt like the framing on a lot of the IMAX sequences, you could tell that that was an issue, especially at the top of the frame. There seemed to be a lot of negative space right up there at the top, and this is not contained to this film. So I think there could have been a little bit more troubleshooting in this area. Is it essential to see the film in IMAX? I wouldn't necessarily say that it is. It's beautiful. I mean, the IMAX shots are gorgeous, but I also think the cinematography in general is great. So if you can find a nice, big, non-IMAX screen, I think you'll be able to appreciate the work as well. Now, having said that, there is one IMAX sequence in the film that I think works spectacularly well. It's a scene where we're shown how Sammy's musical talents tie him to his past and his future, and it literally made the hair on my arm stand up. It was one of those movie moments that reminds me of the possibility and the capability of cinema. It is masterful filmmaking from Ryan Coogler, and I don't get those moments very often, maybe once or twice a year in theaters. So as with the rest of Sinners, the things that it does great offset even some of the things that are maybe not as great. Sinners may not be a perfect film, but I think that it is a very, very good one. And whether you're showing up for the drama or for the actors or for the marshmallows, I don't think that you're going to be disappointed. And when I was looking at where I'm going to rank it on my personal scale, I was torn between the very top end of it's good and bumping it into see it now territory. But I think that the things that this film does great, it does so great, and it is so well shot and so well acted that I ended up bumping the movie into see it now territory. If you want to support an original film and you haven't done that yet this year, I think that Sinners is a great one to pick. But what do you think? Are you heading out to see it in theaters this weekend? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, stay tuned right here for more movie news, reviews, box office, and more. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.